The showroom lights are blazing, the banners scream, "Biggest sale ever!" But the parking lot is empty. Dealers are slashing thousands off sticker prices, offering unheard-of incentives, and yet no one's signing on the dotted line. What's driving this stunning collapse? And could your local dealership be the next to vanish? Across the country, car lots that once bustled with eager buyers now sit eerily quiet. From big city mega dealers to small-town family operations, the same desperate signs are everywhere. Towering banners advertising record-low APR financing, factory rebates stacking on top of dealer incentives, and clearance stickers that chop prices by $5, $10, even $15,000. Yet despite these unprecedented discounts, foot traffic has slowed to a crawl. Dealers report inventories piling up month after month. Some brands are offering 0% financing for nearly a decade. Others throw in free maintenance, and still the cars collect dust. Economists point to a storm of factors: soaring interest rates making loans unaffordable, record household debt squeezing buyers, and a wave of consumers holding onto older vehicles longer than ever. At the same time, the industry is wrestling with an overproduction hangover. Manufacturers kept building even as demand began to cool. Add to that the uncertainty surrounding electric vehicles. Buyers hesitate, unsure whether to bet on EVs, hybrids, or stick with gas-powered models. Meanwhile, used car prices, once sky-high, have started to tumble, making brand-new models an even tougher sell. For dealership owners, the pressure is brutal. Floor plan financing costs climb with every unsold car. Profit margins shrink as rebates grow. Some are quietly closing locations. Others are bracing for layoffs. If the trend continues, the landscape of American car buying could change faster than anyone expected. The sudden chill in the showroom is more than just a seasonal slowdown. It's a full-blown confidence crisis rippling through every corner of the auto market. Dealers in cities like Dallas, Chicago, and Atlanta admit privately that entire weeks now pass without a single high-margin sale. Managers who once spent their mornings juggling trade-in offers now spend them shuffling inventory between lots, hoping a different zip code might spark interest. Behind the glass walls, salespeople pace like restless athletes, staring at rows of untouched vehicles whose window stickers read like desperate pleas rather than invitations. Industry analysts warn that this isn't a simple case of consumers waiting for next year's models. Instead, a cocktail of economic pressure and shifting expectations has pushed shoppers into a holding pattern. Families who might have upgraded every 3 or 4 years are stretching their current cars past a decade, spooked by monthly payments that can top a mortgage. Younger buyers, burdened by student debt and soaring rents, look at a $700 car payment and walk away entirely. At the same time, manufacturers keep feeding dealers more inventory, unwilling to admit that the pandemic-era buying frenzy is over, and each delivery adds to the financing costs that already threaten to swamp the business. Floor plan loans, those short-term credits that let dealerships stock hundreds of vehicles, accrue interest daily. And with benchmark rates at heights unseen in over 20 years, every unsold car is a ticking expense bomb. Some dealers are slashing prices below invoice just to stop the bleeding, effectively selling vehicles at a loss to free up cash. But even those fire sale tactics barely nudge demand. Layered on top of the economic squeeze is the technology dilemma. The industry's push toward electric and hybrid models has left many buyers confused and hesitant. Should they lock themselves into a gas-powered SUV when new emissions rules and charging infrastructure are still evolving? Or gamble on an electric model while battery technology is changing so quickly that today's purchase might feel obsolete within a few years? The uncertainty stalls decisions, turning once reliable foot traffic into a trickle of window shoppers who leave without test driving a single car. Meanwhile, used car prices, which surged during supply chain shortages, are finally falling, giving cautious consumers an attractive alternative and siphoning away what little demand remains for new models. Inside the dealerships, morale is cracking. Veteran salespeople whisper about cutting hours or leaving the industry altogether. Service departments, long the quiet profit engines of a dealership, are now supporting entire operations as new car sales contribute less and less to the bottom line. Owners are tapping personal credit lines to meet payroll, some contemplating whether to surrender long-held franchise agreements before the next wave of factory shipments arrives. The broader economy feels the tremor as well. regional advertising budgets shrink, local sponsorships disappear, and the ecosystem of detailers, transport drivers, and small suppliers tightens like a shrinking circle around a dying fire. Yet manufacturers remain publicly upbeat, insisting that incentives will stimulate demand, and that production cuts are under evaluation, even as dealer lots overflow. Economists watching from the sidelines note that such disconnects rarely end gently. For many family-run operations, the question is no longer whether profits will return, but whether they can hold on long enough to see the next upswing, or if they will be forced to shutter before the market corrects. Some dealership owners have begun liquidating their assets quietly, selling secondary lots or long-held real estate to keep their core stores afloat, but those moves only buy time. In regions where foot traffic has all but vanished, even drastic layoffs can't offset the daily interest costs on unsold inventory. Lenders are watching closely, tightening credit terms and demanding faster repayment cycles, which only accelerates the financial squeeze. Local banks that once courted dealership accounts with favorable lines of credit now ask for additional collateral or hike rates, leaving operators feeling cornered. Manufacturers, meanwhile, are caught in their own trap. Cutting production would stabilize prices but risk shareholder backlash and contractual penalties with parts suppliers. So the pipeline stays open and the overflow builds. Delivery trucks pull up to lots already packed to capacity, forcing managers to rent off-site storage or stack new arrivals alongside streets. Each incoming shipment feels less like a triumph and more like a ticking liability. Consumers sense the tension. Social media is flooded with videos of sprawling lots packed with unsold SUVs and trucks, fueling speculation that even deeper discounts are just around the corner. Many shoppers adopt a wait-and-see stance, convinced that patience will yield an even better deal next month. That psychology, an expectation of perpetual price drops, becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, driving sales lower still. Inside the showrooms, the culture is shifting. Once confident sales teams now huddle in strategy sessions that feel more like crisis meetings. Training focuses less on product features and more on financial triage. How to reassure buyers spooked by volatile interest rates. How to bundle rebates with dealer cash to create an illusion of stability. How to salvage trade-ins that might otherwise sit for months. Managers quietly admit that morale is fragile. Veterans who remember past downturns say this one feels different. Less like a typical cycle, and more like a structural change in how Americans buy cars. Whispers of consolidation ripple through the industry. Larger dealer groups, backed by private equity, scout smaller family-run operations for bargain acquisitions. For some longtime owners, the prospect of selling to a corporate conglomerate becomes less a betrayal and more a lifeline. Yet even these buyouts carry risk. If the market fails to rebound, the giants could inherit a portfolio of bleeding assets. Meanwhile, policymakers and economists debate whether government intervention could stabilize the market. Proposals range from targeted tax incentives for buyers to temporary relief on dealer floor plan loans. But with political gridlock and competing budget priorities, any lifeline remains uncertain. Dealers can't wait for legislation. They need sales now. Out on the asphalt lots, the visual is stark. Rows of gleaming cars reflecting the setting sun, stickers boasting discounts that would have been unthinkable a year ago, and the quiet hum of traffic passing by without stopping. Every unsold vehicle tells the same story of a market at an uneasy standstill, where every day of hesitation erodes balance sheets a little further and pushes long-standing businesses closer to the brink. As autumn deepens and the year's final quarter unfolds, the tension in dealer offices sharpens into quiet dread. Monthly statements arrive like verdicts, listing ballooning interest charges and dwindling cash reserves. Some operators begin cutting showroom hours to save on utilities, while others negotiate with landlords for temporary rent relief, hoping to outlast what they pray is only a transient storm. But behind closed doors, accountants whisper that the math simply doesn't work. Even with aggressive discounts and promotional financing, the combination of high borrowing costs and weak consumer appetite erases profit before the ink on each deal is dry. Salespeople, once buoyed by commissions fat enough to sustain entire households, now scramble to piece together income from side hustles. A few take night shifts driving for ride-hailing services. Others pick up seasonal work to cover basic bills. The shift is demoralizing for teams that used to celebrate record-breaking weekends and lucrative bonus checks. Managers who once motivated with pep talks and performance prizes now focus on keeping their teams from quitting altogether, knowing that a hollowed-out staff will only accelerate decline. Regional auto shows, traditionally a magnet for new model excitement, are quieter than anyone can remember. Stages that once drew standing room-only crowds now echo with scattered footsteps. Automakers still unveil flashy concept cars and boast about future technology, but the enthusiasm feels forced, almost disconnected from the reality back on dealer lots. Even when a model does generate buzz, consumers hesitate to place deposits, wary of committing in such uncertain times. Compounding the crisis is the flood of end-of-lease vehicles returning to market. Cars leased during the pandemic boom are now coming back in huge numbers, swelling used inventory and driving down prices even further. Shoppers comparing deals notice that a well-kept 3-year-old SUV can cost tens of thousands less than its brand-new counterpart while offering nearly identical features. For families facing budget pressures, the choice becomes obvious, siphoning yet more potential buyers away from new car showrooms. Industry veterans liken the atmosphere to the early days of the Great Recession, but with a critical difference. This time, the consumer credit system itself isn't collapsing. Instead, it's the perception of value and the fear of overpaying in a market trending downward that keeps wallets closed. That subtle psychological barrier proves harder to fix than a simple cut in interest rates or a one-time government rebate. Whispers circulate about dealerships turning to unconventional survival tactics. Some experiment with subscription models, offering customers short-term access to fleets of vehicles instead of traditional sales. Others pivot towards service-heavy operations, transforming parts departments into primary revenue streams. But these adaptations take time and capital, two resources growing scarcer by the week. Behind the scenes, a handful of dealer principals meet quietly with bankruptcy attorneys to understand their options. These are not reckless operators, but seasoned professionals who weathered previous downturns and know when the numbers stop adding up. Each day without meaningful sales pushes them closer to difficult decisions: selling franchises, filing for Chapter 11, or closing doors altogether. And still, car carriers keep arriving with freshly built models, gleaming reminders of an industry unable or unwilling to slam the brakes on production even as the market grinds into a stubborn standstill. Regional trucking firms that haul new vehicles are beginning to feel the strain as well, reporting empty backhauls and delayed payments from dealers who once paid promptly. Insurance carriers, too, are reassessing risk, raising premiums for inventory coverage when they see acres of unsold vehicles vulnerable to hailstorms or theft. Each small adjustment tightens the financial vice around dealership owners who are already balancing on a knife's edge. Vendors who supply everything from showroom lighting to paper floor mats quietly shorten billing cycles or demand upfront payment, aware that a single bankruptcy could leave their invoices unpaid. The ripple effects stretch into local economies. Restaurants that once thrived on dealership lunch, crowds notice slower afternoons. Radio stations lose a steady stream of ad revenue as marketing budgets evaporate. Even community charities, youth sports teams, holiday drives, school fundraisers feel the absence of dealership sponsorships that were once a dependable lifeline. The impact becomes visible not just in balance sheets, but in the fabric of towns where a thriving auto row was once a source of civic pride. Customers walking the lots sense this unease, even if they can't name it. The overly eager greetings, the immediate offers of discounts before a test drive, the quick shift to whatever monthly payment you need, all signaled that the normal rhythm of negotiation is gone. Shoppers who might have closed a deal in an afternoon instead retreat home, convinced that waiting will bring deeper price cuts. That expectation feeds on itself. Every week that passes without a purchase reinforces the belief that tomorrow's deal will be better than today's. Meanwhile, the industry's technological crossroads grows more confusing. Rapid announcements of next-generation EV batteries and government incentives for electric infrastructure leave many buyers frozen between options. They hesitate to commit to gas-powered trucks amid looming emissions regulations, yet remain unconvinced that charging networks or resale values for electric models will hold steady. This paralysis adds another layer to the demand drought, with uncertainty eclipsing even the lure of unprecedented discounts. Inside boardrooms at the automakers, the debate intensifies. Some executives argue for sharp production cuts to align supply with reality. Others fear such moves would signal weakness to investors and ignite stock sell-offs. Quarterly earnings calls become delicate balancing acts of optimism and caution, with carefully worded statements about temporary headwinds and pent-up demand that few on the ground still believe. Dealers listen in frustration, knowing each upbeat projection means another convoy of unsold vehicles heading their way. And so, the lots continue to swell. Rows of trucks and sedans gleam under security lights late into the night, a silent testament to an industry stuck between the world it once dominated and an uncertain future it has yet to navigate. Every sunrise brings a new calculation of losses, a fresh round of calls to hesitant buyers, and another day of waiting for a turnaround that remains stubbornly out of reach. By early winter, the strain has become a quiet, grinding routine. Sales meetings open not with upbeat forecasts, but with lists of overdue accounts and reminders to conserve cash wherever possible. Coffee machines go unserviced, showroom plants wilt, and advertising campaigns shrink to bare-bones social posts crafted by whichever staffer still has the energy to manage them. Even longtime customers, those who once strolled in for a friendly chat or a quick service appointment, remark on the tense atmosphere, sensing that the old confidence has drained away. Suppliers of accessories and aftermarket upgrades notice orders slowing to a trickle. Tint installers, custom wheel vendors, and audio specialists who relied on new car buyers to splurge on add-ons now compete fiercely for the few customers still willing to spend. Some pivot to direct-to-consumer online sales, bypassing dealerships entirely. This shift erodes yet another traditional revenue stream and underscores how every link in the chain is adapting for survival. At industry conferences, panel discussions turn somber. Analysts present slide decks showing months of swelling inventory and consumer surveys packed with hesitation. Buyers waiting for the bottom, citing fears of job instability and rising household expenses. Executives speak of market realignment and emerging opportunities. But offstage, their conversations revolve around merger rumors and emergency credit lines. Smaller dealers huddle in corners, trading tips on which lenders still extend favorable floor plan terms and which manufacturers quietly allow delayed payments. In regional auto finance offices, risk officers scrutinize portfolios with new intensity. Delinquencies on existing car loans creep upward, adding to the perception that the market is sliding toward a slow-motion contraction. That data feeds back into higher interest rates for new borrowers, which in turn further suppresses sales. A feedback loop that tightens like a ratchet with each passing week. Local governments, too, start to feel the loss. Sales tax revenues from vehicle purchases, a crucial line item for many municipalities, fall short of projections. Budgets for road maintenance and public services are quietly trimmed, creating ripple effects that extend far beyond the showroom floor. What began as a problem for individual dealerships now threatens to strain city planning and infrastructure funding, illustrating how deeply the auto market is woven into community economics. Despite the gloom, a few innovators see opportunity in the chaos. Some dealers experiment with hybrid retail models, combining small, experience-focused showrooms with online ordering and home delivery. Others lean hard into certified pre-owned programs, effectively transforming their operations into upscale used car centers where margins, while thinner, remain more predictable. These experiments show glimmers of adaptability, but scaling them requires capital that many struggling operators simply no longer possess. Each day's end brings a crimson sunset reflected across acres of untouched windshields. A quiet, almost haunting reminder of capital locked in metal and glass, waiting for a surge of buyers that never seems to come. Before you click away, here's how you can help keep this conversation alive. If you found this deep dive into the dealership crisis eye-opening, hit that like button. It tells the algorithm this story matters. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next chapter as we track how manufacturers, lenders, and small-town businesses fight to survive. And most importantly, share this video with friends or family who are thinking about buying a car, or anyone curious about what's really happening behind those shiny showroom windows. Your engagement not only supports independent reporting, it also spreads awareness that could help local dealerships, workers, and entire communities navigate what's ahead.